Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Jessica Bailey, and today we're going to discuss postmortem stain and some other physical and chemical changes that have an effect on postmortem stain. So let's start with, what is postmortem stain? Postmortem stain is an extravascular discoloration that is related to the gravitation of blood to dependent parts of the body. Okay, that's cool, but what is it? So, dependent parts of the body can have different meanings. It really just depends on which way was the person laying or sitting when they died. The key word here is extravascular, meaning that it's outside the body's tissues. So what does this look like from an embalmer's point of view? In all reality, time is of the essence. Although, sometimes it's not really in our control. It cannot be treated with your traditional embalming, but also you may not know about it until you start the actual embalming process. So, once you figure out that you have postmortem stain, it's typically treated with bleaching agents and cosmetics. Now, we move on to livor mortis. Why and how does this affect postmortem staining? Well, livor mortis is actually an intravascular discoloration associated with the gravitation of blood to dependent parts of the body. Your key word here is intravascular, meaning it's still inside of the body's tissues, which is a good thing, right? Because from an embalmer's point of view, livor mortis can actually be cleaned up pretty well given a good time frame. The different time frames have been broken down into phases of livor mortis. So patches typically appear at 1 to 3 hours after death. And then these patches do increase in size after 4 to 6 hours. And then they become fully developed at 6 to 8 hours. Yikes. So now let's talk about hypostasis. Why and how does it affect postmortem stain? Well, hypostasis is the slowing of blood in the vascular system. So basically, when the heart stops pumping, there is nowhere for the blood to go except for just sit there. And for gravity to take effect. So, from an embalmer's point of view, this can look just like livor mortis, and it can be cleared up or reduced depending on how your time frame looks from traditional embalming. Refrigeration also does slow this physical change down even further. Why? Because colder temperatures, everything slows way down, which is cool. So now let's talk about the last thing, hydrolysis. Why and how does this affect postmortem stain? As we all know, it's a chemical change. And I put a lovely reaction down here for you. It's a decomposition reaction where water is broken apart. This process is what begins to break down the dependent vessels and the tissues. Kind of makes sense, right? So what does it look like from an embalmer's point of view? Well, when hydrolysis occurs, red blood cells escape from the tissues because there's no longer water holding the tissues together. So this is where our staining occurs. And once again, it happens mainly in the dependent parts of the body. Dependent, remember, it can mean many different things. So in conclusion, postmortem staining does have unique challenges to us embalmers. However, embalmers must utilize restorative art techniques to achieve a more natural appearance, which we can. Here is my references. I hope you all have a great day.